Welcome to Center Court. I'm your host, Alex Meacham. This is the first ever episode of Center Court. So basically it's like the tip-off show. So I'm very, very excited about this show because we're going to highlight high school basketball players in the tri-state area. The cool thing is we're also going to talk to high school coaches and anybody that has a great story that's related to the game of basketball. Through the course of the week, we're going to have a lot of surprises and special guests, so you got to make sure you stay tuned. Once again, my name is Alex Meacham. I grew up in Cincinnati, and I played basketball at Roger Bacon High School. Now, after Roger Bacon, I had the opportunity to go play for the University of Cincinnati as a walk-on for the legendary Bob Huggins. As you can see, Bob Huggins was always happy as a coach. He liked to yell and scream a lot, but I loved playing for Coach Huggins. So after I played for Coach Huggins, I had an opportunity to write a book called Walk of a Lifetime. And Walk of a Lifetime basically details my experience playing basketball, some of the trials and tribulations that I went through, but I still found a way to be successful and make it to UC as a walk-on. So after that, I had an opportunity to create Shining Star Sports, which is a nonprofit organization that deals with teaching kids the game of life through the game of basketball. We have over 18 AAU basketball teams that travel all around the country. During those 13 years of working with Shining Star, I also had the opportunity to help develop and inspire a basketball sneaker. So with all that being said, there's a lot of excitement behind this show. So let's get going. Let's get tipped off. And here on Center Court, our first ever guest is going to be Turpin High School star, Zach McCormick. We'd like to welcome Zach. Welcome to the Center Court.
Thanks, Meacham. Happy to be here.
Cool. So what I want to do today, Zach, is I want to cover a lot of different topics, okay? I just don't want to talk about just strictly basketball. I want to talk about a lot of different things. So I've got an opportunity to know you over the last couple years, and my interactions with you have been just absolutely great. And a lot of kids in this area in Cincinnati really look up to you. I think a lot of high school basketball players in general, I know a lot of the kids out there really look up to you and say, you know, I want to put in the work and time and get to be to the level Zach is. But along with that, a term that they use now is haters, okay? Yeah. We hear that quite a bit. And a lot of people have said things about you. I've been around and had people say, oh, Zach's a punk, he's not a good kid. Do you hear this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, you always hear it. It's always on the media and all that. But, I mean, if they're talking about you, whether it's bad or good, obviously, I mean, you're doing something right.
Absolutely. So why do you think people say those things? Where does that come from, do you think?
Well, on the court, I play the chip on my shoulder, most people call it. I mean, I just want to win so bad that,
right.
I mean, I'll do whatever it takes. And, I mean, some people take that as, because I play emotionally, I let my body go, make faces, funny faces.
Say stuff to refs.
Yeah, say stuff to the refs.
I've seen that. Where do you get that from? Where do you get that emotion and that style of play? Where was that developed?
Just growing up, I loved it. I mean, loved winning, playing against my older brother growing up.
How old is he?
He's 5 years older than I am.
Okay. Did he play high school basketball?
Yeah, he did. At Clinton Massey.
Okay, cool. Was he as good as you?
You're going to have to take that up with him.
All right. Good deal. So you developed that. Now, also, the other thing, too, that's very, very popular with kids right now is social media, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and that allows people to say things that they normally wouldn't say in your face. They could hide behind their phone or computer. Have you had instances where people said stuff to you on Twitter that, you know, might not be the nicest thing, or after a game, you know, the opposing team would say stuff to you on Twitter? Has that happened to you?
Oh, definitely. There's been multiple occasions where people are tweeting just negative, bad things towards you, but
how do you feel about that?
I mean, it doesn't really bother me because, I mean, I don't associate myself with them. You got to know who to associate yourself with and the people who to listen to and who not to listen to, and if that's what they're doing is trying to talk down at me and get in my head, it's not going to work because I don't really have a reason to retaliate or care about what they had to say.
Do you respond?
No.
You've never responded to any of them? You just let it go? That's
Yeah.
pretty smart. I like that. So with that perception, and my interactions with you have absolutely been great. People have said stuff to me, and I think, like you said, people see you on the court and they see the emotion and the way you play, and they say, "Oh, he's a punk."
Yeah.
That's how you play in between the lines. When I've dealt with you off the court, you've been absolutely great, one of the nicest kids that I've ever dealt with. So when you hear this stuff said by other people, how do you deal with that? Do you say that I'm going to act a certain way off the court, or do you do anything differently, or do you just be Zach? What do you do?
I just try and be myself at all times. I mean, I'm one person off the court, and then once I get on the court, it's my love in life. And I put everything I have into it, and I love winning, so that has one side of me, and then off the court, I just try and be myself.
Absolutely. So let's talk about one of the hot topics with you was the ESPN Top 10 Sports Center dunk. So when you actually made the dunk, I think Cam Atkins threw it off the backboard,
Yeah.
right? It was at Anderson.
Yeah.
After you did that, did you think like, oh man, that's a Sports Center highlight?
No,
You didn't think
never
that at all?
went through my mind.
Right. And then how'd you find out?
The AD actually talked to me and said because how it actually got on there was an Anderson lady put it on there. So she
sent it to Sports
yeah,
Center?
she sent it in. So it wasn't even from our school, which I'm very thankful for that she did that. But she talked to our athletic director, Eric Fry, and then he contacted me to tell me about it.
Awesome. And so what was people's reaction with you like at school?
Well, the next day was pretty hectic and crazy because there was news channels there, and they were doing interviews and stuff all day. So
That's
it was
cool.
pretty crazy, but everybody at school was just laughing, making jokes. So I mean, it really wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, that's cool. So another thing I want to talk about, obviously, Zach, you're one of the best players in Cincinnati, and you, unlike a lot of kids, I don't know the exact percentage, but you're going to have an opportunity to play Division I basketball. And there are a lot of kids that I work with that are in 7th and 8th grade that have dreams of making it to Division I basketball. But along the way, something happens where they don't make it. So you've got a unique opportunity to go play for Miami Oxford, which is a great institution for not only learning but also basketball. How did you decide on Miami? Like what went through your mind as far as the process and how you dealt with it?
Well, I took the process kind of slow. I tried to weigh out all the options, talk to my family, talk to my coaches, and I really just tried to talk to all the college coaches that were recruiting me as much as possible. And the recruiting process is hard, so I tried to figure out like which coaches I can listen to with 100% of the stuff they say, which coaches I can listen to 10% of the stuff they say. And with Miami, I just felt that they were always honest with me. They made me feel like part of the family, the coaches. The school was just great too, academic-wise. So that was
a great school.
Yeah, it is.
You have a lot of fun there.
Yeah, for sure.
So with that being said, you've reached obviously one of your goals. What are some other goals you've set? Like what else can you do now?
Well, when I get there, I wanna do very well in school, and because it's student and then athlete. So I'm big on that. And then after that, I want to graduate and hopefully play professionally somewhere, whether it's in the NBA or overseas.
Cool. Well, I think one day you'll be a coach too. I told you that before.
Yeah, that's what I want to do for sure. When I get done playing and when the ball quits bouncing, I want to be a college coach.
Absolutely. And I think it will really happen. I think one day we'll see him coaching. So with that being said, I assume you expect to have a great season, and then you get to the playoffs, okay? The last 2 years, you face Moeller.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of Moeller kids that I deal with, and they always say, we stop Zach, he's nothing, he scores all these points, but then when he plays us, we shut him down. And you've told me before that you were frustrated in those games. Are you looking forward to playing in the playoffs, have an opportunity to get to that again if Moeller makes it, if you guys make it? And what do you think about with that?
Yeah, well, Moeller's a great team, great tradition. And I mean, they're always bringing in top kids. They're always one of the best in the city, if not the best, almost every year. So it's tough. and they have a great coach, Coach Kramer, I think.
Absolutely.
And he always has a game plan. I mean, they were calling out our plays. We had different names for them, and they were calling out those plays.
Yeah,
like
well
they knew
scouted.
everything. But, I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to it this year because, I mean, when they beat us 2 years ago, I was looking forward to it this past year, and then I didn't take that opportunity, didn't do the best, not very well at all, actually. So I'm definitely looking forward to it this year to try and prove something and really just take my team as far as we can.
Awesome. So, but here's the deal. Since I've known you, I've always talked a little trash to you, and I've told you I could beat you one-on-one.
Yeah.
Like, I feel, Zach, you can't guard me. All right? And I sound like Michael Jordan, don't I, talking about LeBron and those guys. But what I'd like to do with every guest that comes on here, we're going to do a shooting contest. We're going to call it Meach's Madness. So you and I are going to have a three-point shooting contest. You think you can beat me?
Oh, no question.
You down with that? Everybody stay tuned. Zach and I are going to go to the Mercy Healthplex and have a shooting contest. All right, every week on Center Court, we will have a shooting challenge that we call Meach Madness. So this week, we have Zach McCormick of Turpin High School going against me. And Coach Huggins knows I will never let this guy beat me. You ready?
Ready.
Let's go. On purpose because I want him to have confidence going into the season. You know, that was the whole, right? All right, we want to thank Zach for coming on the show this week and tune in next week to Center Court.
I appreciate you having me.
All good. Welcome back to Center Court. I'm your host, Alex Meacham. Now I'm excited to bring in our second guest, Eric Thompson, who's currently coaching high school basketball at Turpin. Welcome in, Eric.
I appreciate you having me, Alex.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing pretty well. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, you know, this will be my second year coaching at Turpin High School. We're going to have a strong team this year. I help out with the varsity assistant. You know, anything they need me to do. This will be my second year. I coached AAU for a long time. I was a manager at Xavier during my college years. Moved on to coach AAU. With you for this year with the Shining Star program for the 15U. We had a pretty successful season, so it was
Definitely.
good. It was good. So.
And you've had the opportunity to really get to know our first guest, Zach McCormick. What do you think about Zach? Tell me a little bit.
Zach's he's a character.
He's a character.
Great kid, but you know, he's great. He's, you know, since day one, he's been willing to get in the gym. You know, we share a lot of the same interests. A lot of college basketball, as you can imagine. That's what we talk about. So, you know, going to the games, it's great. So he's gonna do big things at Miami and hopefully this year at Turpin. So,
without a doubt. So let's talk about you a little bit. And one of the reasons I wanted to have you on here is because I think you've got a pretty interesting story, and I've got some tough questions to ask you. So, obviously, you're in a wheelchair. Tell us a little bit about what what's happened, and just tell the people so they get a little bit better understanding.
Yeah, so when I was 18 months, I was diagnosed with spinal muscular atrophy, which is as most people probably know of muscular dystrophy. So it's a subcategory of that. And so I have type 2, which is more of a mild form compared to the other three. And so I started out walking with a limp till I was relatively about 9 years old, or actually the day before my 9th birthday. I broke my leg, and so that was the beginning of, I actually broke it at a Cincinnati landmark down at Coney Island. So.
Wow, so you were walking up until...
Yeah, I was walking, played basketball, played goalie in soccer, actually raced competitively go-karts. Did that for 9 years.
Okay.
A little fun fact.
You have to remember that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I walked up until then, did physical therapy over at Mercy Healthplex, where you do your training at. Did that for up until I started college, so until I was 17, going on 18 into college. And so that was my final year because I was moving away from for school to go to UK for my freshman year. And so back to, kind of what I had was that in my freshman year, I had a scoliosis surgery. So two spinal columns, or my spinal column straightened with two rods. And so all that kind of, and just navigating, I went into the wheelchair probably full-time right after that spinal surgery, so freshman year of high school. So.
Oh, wow. So how did you react to that, like mentally? Like you go from, and you've been in a wheelchair ever since.
Yeah.
You go from walking and doing things that other kids were doing to, I mean, did they tell you you're in a wheelchair the rest of your life?
No, not really. My parents were always good. As I was growing up, it was kind of always doing the same thing everybody else was. And so when that point came, I actually I walked, you probably saw him like the Forrest Gump, like those like braces that he wears. So I had a pair of those, and I would use on occasion. Some of my teachers back in St. Thomas More, they would tell me I had to walk to a class, so I had no choice. I'd much rather use the wheels, but so it was on and off up until I could walk, short distances, anything like that. And so I walked up until when I had the scoliosis surgery, so December of my freshman year of high school, so that would have been 2004. And so then after that point, it was kind of like, all right, now, we're going to be in the it was kind of like, this is, the final,
But mentally, how did
Mentally?
you take that? Was it like?
Yeah, honestly, it wasn't that bad, because I was fortunate enough that it helped it happened at a younger age, when I broke my leg, that like I kind of adjusted, those critical point of your life as you're going into teenager, friends are starting to do stuff. And so it was nice that right before that, they kind of got accustomed to, the wheelchair being around. So, it made it easier on me to just do everything that everybody else was doing.
And so do you have dreams of walking and then wake up?
No, honestly, I haven't.
You
no.
haven't? Okay.
Unfortunately not.
I was just always
No, I haven't in a long time.
So how was it that, you got into coaching basketball and you do a great job? I mean, I've seen you obviously in high school and then with the Shining Star program, and a lot of kids have respect for you, but most of the time and you know how kids are, when you go into a gym, kids, they like to look at somebody and already determine what that person's like or who they are.
Yeah.
And so you're in a wheelchair, and if somebody sees, that's my coach, he's in a wheelchair, there's no way he can coach me. I'm sure you probably thought that and heard that.
Yeah.
How do you feel going into a gym, rolling into a gym?
Yeah, whatever you want to call it.
You roll into a gym, and do you have that in the back of your mind when you meet new kids? You're like, oh man, they're going to...
Not really, to be honest with you. Sometimes it all depends the situation. Obviously it's I always feel more comfortable when you have a really good player that you go into the gym with Zach, and all of a sudden
Sure.
okay,
he gives you credibility.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and it's not really about that, being associated with a great program like the Shining Star, and it's kind of that confidence booster, kind of like anything that you do, you got to have that confidence to be able to do it well, and so having that confidence that, hey, we got a good program, hey, we got a good kid, whatever it may be, and I think that helps out a lot, also having confidence in yourself, You can't really change the situation, so you might as well make the best of it. So.
And I know, you and I have talked quite a bit, and like other coaches out there that want to be college coaches, you'd like to get to the higher level,
absolutely.
whether it's coaching a head coach at high school or head coach at college. Now, I've not seen a lot of head coaches at the higher levels in wheelchairs.
Yeah.
So that's that's something that you have to overcome.
Absolutely.
And you've thought about that.
Yeah.
How do you overcome that?
Honestly, I think that, not to toot my own horn, I think that, that I can do it, obviously, and I think I can do it at a very high level. I think it first starts out with being able to teach the game. Any college coaches you watch, you read the John Wooden books, everybody's a teacher first. And then you can explain it. If you're a good teacher, your explanation should be able to take care of it. Obviously, it's great having great assistants around. Also in my help, hey, I explain to them, maybe we're going to go over something in the beginning,
right.
And then, hey, you're going to do this when I'll explain it, and then you just demonstrate it for them.
Sure.
So, it's all about just making best of what you have around you. I'm sure the boys at Turpin can attest, a couple times I'll explain something, and then all of a sudden, hey, I can't really show this. So
yeah, because you can't demonstrate
yeah,
it.
and so
your ability to, explain to them.
Yep. You have to be really fine detail. One of the guys that kind of got me into coaching, Sherwin Anderson. He always explained, like, he's one of the guys that really step by step. He starts at the top. Like, we're going to walk through all the way through the drill and explain each detail, how you want it to be done. Do as much demonstration as you can. Hey, we're going to go off this cone, whatever it may be. Just explain it in as much detail as you can, and then hopefully, one of the more advanced kids will pick it up. Hey, we can do this. We can demonstrate it. Or a kid that you have faith in. Hey, talk to him before practice is what we're going to do, and then go at it from there. And I think kids sometimes, and I also think. I like to use this to my advantage sometimes.
Okay, tell me about that.
Yeah, so like to the advantage, sometimes you'll walk into a practice with a coach, and you'll watch him nonstop showing guys. Just because you played doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be the best coach. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to fast track to whatever level. You got to be able to understand the game. You got to be able to talk kids through it. You can't go out on the court during a game and demonstrate it for them. So
and that's a great point, because I think coaches like Tom Thibodeau, I don't think he played.
Exactly, he was a manager.
Yeah,
I believe.
His knowledge of the game is extremely high, and his ability to teach, and he has the respect of those Chicago Bulls player. You look at a guy like Michael Jordan,
exactly,
and they've said he's not ever going to be a coach. He's not a good coach.
Exactly.
Although he might be the greatest player ever, he doesn't have that ability to do that.
Yeah, and I think that's like a critical point. When I was at Xavier, I was an undergrad sport management major, and we had a coaching class, and one of the classes was, hey. I remember, I'll never forget, true or false, if you played basketball, you're going to be a great coach. And it was, true or false, and the answer was false on it, because, as you look, some of the guys, you can't explain it. You got to be able to explain stuff. And, going back to using it as my advantage, hey, you know what, I can explain it to you. I'm going to allow you to go out and make the mistake while we're doing it, and then I'll just explain to you a little bit more on what to clean up, and then bam, we got it. And it's more of a natural, instead of them trying to repeat what I do, if you're going out, and I heard you saying you're dunking on Sam earlier, instead of me going out and showing somebody how to dunk, I can explain to them how to dunk and let them come up with their own creative way to do it.
And let's not go past that. My good friend Sam Dunn, who I went to college with, I did dunk on him, so that's what we're talking about. We'll get Sam involved with the program at some point too, and reenact that whole.
Yeah,
so thanks for bringing that up.
Or Zach's, crossover. I know he got you with a couple times. So I think he learned that from someone. Yeah.
But that's you bring up some good points. I just thought your story was so interesting that
I appreciate it.
And when I teach, things to kids, I'm very demonstration oriented. I get out there and I show them. So to hear you come from a different angle, that a lot of your teachings. Basically telling them, hey, you got to get here, so it's got to be so detailed.
Absolutely.
And really, I think the interesting thing with you, Eric, is before you knew me and I knew who you were, I talked to kids like Zach McCormick and some of the other kids that were, currently freshmen at Turpin, and all these people had the ultimate respect for you.
I appreciate that.
And then having you coach AAU basketball and see the kids react to you, you have a special gift.
Yeah.
And so I hope that your special gift allows you to go to the next level.
Absolutely.
Of being a head coach at high school and college, and people can overlook
Absolutely.
that. And I think it's also a great story that people, that a school will overlook that and say, you know what?
Yeah.
Regardless of the disability, this guy can flat out coach and
Absolutely.
teach kids.
And that brings up a good point. Turpin, Brad Cupido, the former coach, before he had to leave, he brought me in. Drew Schmidt helped with that, and they both did a great job of, hey, I was coaching at St. Thomas More, an 8th grade team. We had a lot of success with that team, but they kind of saw, hey, this might be, and they knew I wanted to get into it. And, Turpin's been great. I couldn't ask for a better situation. Close to home, great kids, great administration all the way around. So it's, it's been top notch, along with great basketball. It's been a lot of fun. So.
Well, what would be really cool is down the road, if you have an opportunity to get a head coaching gig, to then bring Zach aboard as one of your coaches.
Absolutely.
That'd be kind of cool.
My biggest fear is just working for him, not.
Oh, the other way around.
Yeah, the other way around. It could be scary.
You wouldn't want that.
No,
so tell us real quick, what would be a next step for you? You want to be a high school basketball coach? Tell the people out here,
Yeah, I would love to obviously continue in the basketball track. It's great. You get to meet a lot of great people, get to do a lot of great things, travel the world. So it's been great. So, I would love, obviously, when I was a manager at Xavier, I loved the time, being a manager. The college game is just so much different, such a big deal on the national level. It's pretty neat. It's really neat, get to go to the Sweet 16. The NCAA tournament is something special. And so I would love to get back, to that level eventually, whether it be a head coach, whether it be an assistant, whether it be a director, just being involved. I just like being involved with the teams, or in the college administration one day if that doesn't work out. So, something to do with the college.
And I think, a lot of kids in this area need to really take note of what you've done, and regardless of your disability, you've been able to do, I think, a lot of great things. And so these kids that do have all these things that they were born with, that they don't probably take advantage of, they need to think about that. And so we have just a short time left. I want to thank you.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And talking about this subject, because there are some people that probably wouldn't want to tackle the subject, and you've been willing to come on here and and do it.
It's all about embracing what you have and moving forward. So
absolutely. Well, we want to thank our guest, Eric Thompson, for coming on, and thank everybody out there for tuning in to Center Court. Please tune in next week. We've got some more surprises and some great guests. Thank you very much.